So in the previous video we've seen what an API is. It's just a programmatic interface that helps in automating certain tasks, and for example you could use it to create triggers in a workspace or listing all the containers in an account, etc, etc. Then we saw the uses of it, why it should be preferred over manual work when there are multiple containers you're working with or multiple factors that you're working with. And then we saw the method and resource object. Then we moved on to the authentication process, and finally we also saw the design flow, uh, the hierarchical process of going from account to container to workspace and then to the different things such as tags, triggers, etc. So in this video we'll learn how to actually make an API tool of your own, how to use the API to make a tool of your own. So in this video we are just going to be uh, making a spreadsheet tool, alright, and we'll be working with AppScript to make this. So firstly I'll show you how the tool works, what it does, and it's already created. The GTM overview tool, where if you click get account overview, it will run the script. And before running the script, it will ask you for authorization, but I have already given access, so it didn't ask me. It will ask you for authorization, and this is what it does. It shows you the account name inside, and inside that the container name, container ID, latest version, number of tags, everything about that account which it is linked to. So for me, I am currently, the accounts that are showing here are currently for this ID, right? So this is what it does. It's basically a overview tool. It gives you a quick overview of how many accounts you have, what containers you have, and inside that how many tags you have. As you can see, only this container has tags enabled, so it's only showing here, whereas these don't have any tags or triggers, so they are not shown here. So this is how it works. Now let's move on to how to create it. Alright, I'll just delete this. Okay. Now firstly you'll have to click on extensions. No, even before that, let's start from scratch itself. So firstly you'll have to open a new sheet and give a descriptive name here, as I've given GTM overview tool. So when you go to extensions, you know what the tool does, so it's important to give a descriptive name. And then you need to go to extensions, right? When you go to extensions, select AppScript, and this is the AppScript page, and it won't have all the code, obviously. This is the code that I have used to make the tool. It won't have the code, so you'll have to build it from scratch. Alright, but before getting into the coding part, again you'll have to name it here, and it is advised that if you give the same name as you gave in the gave to the spreadsheet. So then you need to go to services, right, and you need to add a service and select, okay, it's not showing here now, but you need to select tag manager and click add. Now this is also very helpful because if you wanted to add tag manager manually, you will have to create more Python or JavaScript codes and run them, but this has simplified the process for you. And once you select tag manager and add it, again you'll need to authorize. So once you completed that, then we can move on to here. And this AppScript code, it is in the context of your spreadsheet that you have here, so whatever you do there will be applied to this spreadsheet. Alright, now let's get into the code and start breaking it down and see how it all works. Right, so this will just be a code walkthrough for you, where I'll explain what specific bits of codes are doing, and then finally we'll see it in action. So firstly, on open. So when it opens, I mean, we want to create a menu item, right? Firstly, what we'll do, under extensions, we need this to show. We need to create a menu item. So we'll go here, menu, and inside the spreadsheet app, I'm going to the UI and I'm creating an add-on menu, which the name where I'm adding the item, get account overview. So if you go here, you're getting the item. getting the item, get account overview. Alright, and I'm adding it to the UI. Then build sheet. Let's move on to build sheet. So it's just building the sheet, which means we are adding headers at this point. Alright, now as you can see, variable headers, there's account name, container ID, target platform, latest version ID, number of tags, number of triggers, number of variables, all this information, right? And sheet name, we are setting a sheet name, GTM account overview. So if I were to go here and run the script, you can see the sheet name, GTM account overview, in which all of this has been entered. So that's what basically we are doing. We are just setting the name for the sheet. Alright, and then what this is doing is spreadsheet add get active spreadsheet, get sheet by name. So we are just getting the name here, and if the current sheet has the name of the sheet name, firstly, if it does not exist, then we'll create a new sheet by that name. If it does exist, then we'll just clear all of its contents. So if a sheet with this name already exists, we'll just clear all of its contents and then add these, right? Then you're just building the headers and populating the data. So headers dot length means suppose we have 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Alright, we have 8 items here, so the length will be 8. I'll tell you where this is useful now. So when we actually come on to building the headers part, we have to set a range, right, where it needs to start. So we'll say that first row, this is the row number, this is the column number, this is the number of rows, this is the number of columns. Alright, so row number, obviously we need it to start on 1, and column number as well, we need to start it from 1, and the number of rows. So header only requires one row. We only need one row for the headers, right? So this row is your header row. So that's why 1, because we only need one row for our headers. But columns you can't set it that yeah, I'm only going to need 6 columns for now or 7 columns for now. So what you need to do is you need to set it to headers length, and headers length we saw was 8. So if I were to add another item here, headers length would change to 9, and this would automatically become 9. Alright, 4 5 6 7 8. So it's automatically setting it to number of columns to 8. So we are done with the build sheet now, and build headers as well. So we've created the headers and we have set the values. Now we have to come to populating the data. So where do you want the data to start from? So obviously our first row is for headers, so we want the data to be populated from the second row, right, from here. So basically that's what you're telling, that you need it to start from row number 2, which is this, and column number will be 1, because if you click here, this is just your matrix, right? This is row 2 but column is still 1, so row 2 but column 1. Alright, then number of rows is the length of data that is there, right? Again, we can't dynamically set, so however or how much many accounts will be there, my bad, how many accounts will be there. Suppose there's 9 accounts, so it will populate 9 rows. Alright, so that's what it's doing, data length. Then number of columns, again we are just taking the number of columns. We are not setting it by ourselves, we are just taking it that you count how many number of columns are there where data is present, and that's how they populate it. So we are done with build headers. We have set the range for the headers, we have set the range for the data as well. Now we need to get the accounts. Alright, so what I'm telling, return tag manager dot accounts dot list, right? Fields so I'm saying that I want the accounts list, but in that I only want these fields, name and account ID. Now if you were to go to API, sorry, GTM API, So if I were to execute this and then yeah, authorize. So yeah, we have all these different values. I don't want path or features. I just want name and account ID. So that's what I'm telling it, that out of all that, I just want name and account ID. And as you can see, there's a comment which says it returns all accounts and the fields account name and ID only. So we are ignoring all the other fields which are there, which is path, features. Alright. And similarly, this is returning all the containers in the accounts. Alright. Firstly, we did the account and we know that required the path required to get accounts is just the account name, account ID, but if you want to get containers, you need to specify inside which account do you need that container from. Account Sorry, I messed up there. To get accounts, you just need to authorize that, yeah, my accounts are connected to this ID, and all the accounts that are connected to that ID, you will get them, and you just need to specify the fields. But in case of containers, you need to specify the account ID. So inside which account do you want to look for these containers, right? And that's what I'm telling, return tag manager accounts. And so basically I'm getting the containers inside this account, right? And then fields again, similarly, for accounts I only took the name and account ID field, but for containers I'm taking name, public ID, usage context, and container ID. Usage context is just telling you whether it's a web or a application, web application or mobile application, iOS, all that. That is your usage context. Again, you can test it out. Containers list. Just authorize this. So under container you have all these things, and as you can see, account ID, name, public ID, and the usage context. So that's what we're telling it to fetch. Alright, then this is just a function to build data where you're just getting the accounts. Now this function, what it's doing is, firstly for the for each conditions. So for each account in the list we want to fetch the containers. Then this for each, what it's doing is, for each container we want to push these rows of data. So in each container, these are the rows of data that we are pushing, right? Sorry. Firstly, account name, then container name, container ID, target platform, latest version ID, number of tags. Alright. So for each container, push these rows of data. So this is just a data push function that we are using here. Alright. Firstly, we are just creating an array here. Alright. Then as we saw, for each account in the list, fetch the containers. For each container, push these rows of data. And why we have added the prefix of latest version here is because we are getting the values of the latest version. Because when you submit, suppose I'm on version 9 now and I submit, so it goes to version 10. So I only want the data for that version. So this function, what it does, it gets the values of the latest version. So get latest version, and the parameters you are passing are account ID, container ID, and tag manager, accounts, containers, version headers, latest, and you're specifying the account ID and the container ID. So you're just passing the parameters here and you're just specifying the account ID and container ID here. Alright. So, and this is what comes into play here. So the container version ID you get is the latest version. Similarly, the number of tags, the number of triggers, and number of variables, all that you get is from the latest version, not from any other versions. So this is how the code breaks down. Now, yeah, let's just so after you run it and you come back to your spreadsheet, let's delete this, refresh it. and under extensions you'll be able to find it. Let's give it a second to load. Yeah, so I'll have to change the account because another thing you need to be careful of. So on this account I have two-factor authentication set up, right? So it doesn't allow me to run this extension or run the script of the extension. So on this account I don't have two-factor authorization, so I can turn off that less secure apps feature, so the script can work on this account. I'm yet to find a solution for that. So under extensions, go to GTM overview 2 and get account overview. So as you might remember, the add item name was get account overview, and that's why we are getting the option get account overview. Alright, and as you can see, after running the script, this is what we get. And if you want to double check this, let's see test 2. Let's see the container name, right? And test 2 container name, you can see that it's a match, and then container ID, target platform, we can check all of these things. Then latest version ID, let's say 11. So let's go to workspace. The live version is 11, and we go to versions, 24 tags, 21 triggers, and 29 variables. So let's check that as well. 24 tags, 21 triggers, and 29 variables. So as you can see, this we have just created our own tool using the GTM API. So this was just one of the ways in which it can be used. There are many other ways you could use it. So even like we first discussed it, the first example that we took was this: if you have to update a tag across 100 containers. So this was one tool which showed one use case of it. Similarly, there are many, and you saw that it took some time to design it. Of course, if you were to write this code from scratch, it would take some time to write it, but again, it would be way easier, and it would save way much more time than going to these accounts separately and getting this data from all of those accounts. We only have 6 accounts here. Suppose we had like 50 accounts or something, so getting the data for all of them would be tedious and time consuming. So this is just a way to automate that, and that is what GTM API is about. So yeah, we are done with both of our videos on GTM API. We saw what it is, how it works, and then we even saw a practical demonstration of it, which was building this GTM overview tool. So that gives you the overview of your account just by going to extensions and clicking this. So yeah, this was all for the video. Thank you for watching.